Okay, so today we're going to take a look at rotations. This is a type of transformation. You may have referred to it when you were younger as a turn. And that's basically what we're going to do is turn a point or a shape of some kind. So if you look at this diagram here, notice that we have this red point. That is what we call the point of rotation. So that's what we're going to rotate the shape around. So if I turn this, notice that it's turning around that point. Now, if I change the point of rotation, maybe to over here, notice now that as I rotate it, it goes to a different spot. So today we're mainly going to work around the point of rotation, or rotation being the origin. And we're going to learn 3 different turns today. So first we're going to learn a 90 degrees clockwise turn. And if I turn this exactly 90 degrees clockwise, and remember clockwise goes in the way that the clock goes. So if you think of the hand moving around the clock, that would be clockwise. If I continue for another 90 degrees, now I've made a 180 degree turn. If I keep going clockwise around one more set of 90 degrees, which would be a 270 degree clockwise turn, then I get to this point. And then if I go all the way around 360 degrees, of course I'm back in the original position. Now, the 270 degree turn, if I go 270 degrees, that means I go 3 90 degree turns, which would be here. Notice that I'm in this quadrant over here, which happens to be quadrant number 4. No, excuse me, 3. But notice if I go from the original point 90 degrees counterclockwise, I end up in the same spot. So a 90 degrees counterclockwise turn and a 270 degrees clockwise turn are the exact same location. Also, notice that if I turn the shape 180 degrees, which would be here, I've got a T, like as in Tom. If I go 180 degrees counterclockwise, 1, 2, I end up in the same spot. So when you do a 180 degree turn, usually there's no direction given, because if you go clockwise or if you go counterclockwise, you're going to end up in the same spot. All right, so let's take a look at an example of how we would go about doing this turn. And to do that, we're going to go over here. We've got triangle ABC in this example. And the first turn that we're going to do is a 90 degrees clockwise turn. And notice that I've written the original location of each of the points in this triangle. And I'm going to rotate them 90 degrees clockwise. Now, there's a very simple way to do it just by using your eye, because if you took, for example, letter A, notice that you've got letter A, you've got this little rectangle that's 2 by 3. So if I want to go 90 degrees clockwise, again, that's going to be going this direction, right? Down into the next quadrant. And so if I just do the same simple 3 by 2 rectangle, then my new location would be the same place right here. Okay, so I can do it by my eye visually, but there's also a formula that may help you. And I find the formula helpful, so if this helps you, then that would be great too. So what you do is you take your coordinates x, y, and with a clockwise turn, you're going to change these where the x and the y are going to switch places. So it's going to be y first, and then you're going to do the opposite of x. So if x is positive, it's going to become negative. If it's negative, it's going to become positive. So if you look at letter A, which is at 2, 3, we're going to switch them places. So 3 is going to go first, and the x value, which is 2, is going to become the opposite, which means it's going to become negative 2. Now, what I like to do is I like to highlight the ones that I'm going to be opposite, because these are all positive, so it makes it fairly easy. But when you have positives and negatives, and I like to just go through and say, okay, all of these are going to change signs to their opposite, because the x values are going to be opposite in this turn. And then I just know to switch places and do the opposite. So let's look at letter B. Letter B would then become 5 first, and the 6 would become negative. Letter C, it would be 2 and negative 6. Now, if I graph these 3 points, notice what happens. 3, negative 2, we've already determined here. We're going to put the prime because that shows the new location. So A prime would be there. 5, negative 6, I'm going to go 5 and then down to negative 6, which would be here. That's going to be my new location for B. And C would be 2, negative 6. So I go 2, negative 6. No, that doesn't work. Yeah, it does. And now I have my new location. So notice that this triangle has made 90 degrees counterclockwise. The triangle itself didn't change. It shouldn't have, but although it looks a little longer, something went wrong. Let me just look and see. 3, negative 2, 5, negative 6, 2, 4, 6, and 2, negative 6. Now I see it. Okay, so 2, negative 6 would be here. Okay, now we have the right triangle. This is letter C in this location. Okay, so it's made a 90-degree turn. Yeah, just looking. Okay, so now the second turn we're going to do is a 90 degrees counterclockwise turn, which, as we noticed before, is the exact same turn as a 270-degree clockwise turn. So both of these would be the same thing. So in this case, you now have your x, y values. And again, you're going to switch places, but this time the y values are going to go opposite. So if I'm doing this, I'm going to go and I'm going to highlight all the y values because these are all going to be the opposite, and they're going to switch places. So now A is going to be negative 3, 2, because the y values are going to be the opposite sign. And since they're positive, they're going to go negative. B is going to be negative 5, 6, and C is going to be negative 2, 6. And notice that when I graph these, now I go negative 3, 2, which is my new location for A, and negative 5, 6 is my new location for B, and negative 2, 6 is my new location for C. And now I've done a 90-degree counterclockwise. So going the other direction, boom, this direction, which is also the same as going around 90 degrees, 180 degrees, and 270 degrees. Those are the same turn. Okay, so Now let's take a look at the last turn, which is the 180 degree turn. And in the 180 degree turn, it's very simple because you take your XY values and they're not going to switch places. They're just going to go the opposite. So you go the opposite of X and the opposite of Y. So A would now become negative 2, 3, or excuse me, negative 2, negative 3. B would become negative 6, negative 5. And C would become negative 6, negative 2. So I should end up over here in quadrant number 3. And if I go negative 2, negative 3, sure enough, there's my new location for A. Negative 6, negative 5 would be here. That would be B. And negative 6, negative 2 would be here. Oops, I went too far, didn't I? That would be C. And this one should be here. And once again, there's my turn. Okay, now it may be helpful for you to write in your notes these formulas if you find these formulas to be helpful. That on 90 degrees clockwise, you switch places and your X values go opposite. For your 90 degrees counterclockwise or the 270 degree turn clockwise or counterclockwise 90 degrees is the opposite values will be Y and you'll switch places. And then for the 180 degree turn, you simply change the sign on both the X and the Y. If you write those down, then you can use them as you do your problems. Okay, I hope this is helpful for you today. Let me know if I can do something else to help you out.